Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muna Muhammad Noor, and this is the presentation for our UNGS 2060, topic 4. The topic is the impact of Islam on Malaysian economy, Islamic banking. So first of all, I'll start with a bit of introduction. Malaysia is a Southeast Asian country that is located on the Malay Peninsula. It has a total area of 329,847 square kilometers with a population of about 31 million people. Malaysia has a tropical climate with temperature ranging from 23 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius. The country's natural resources include petroleum and natural gas, tin, timber, rubber, and palm oil. Malaysia is also famous for its spices like pepper, cinnamon, and cloves. Malaysia is the only country in Southeast Asia that does not share a border with another country. It has been ruled by various empires throughout history, including the Indian Raja of Srivijaya, Majapahit, and Sultan of Malacca, the Bruneian Empire, and finally by the Great Britain. Malaysia became independent from the Great Britain on August 31, 1957. And was renamed to Malaysia on September 16 of that year because it had become too diverse to be just called Malaysia or Malaya. Malaysia's economy relies mainly on exports, such as electronics and electrical equipment, petroleum products and liquefied natural gas, LNG, palm oil, and rubber. Malaysia has also an excellent tourism industry due to its gorgeous beaches in both Peninsular Malaysia as well as Borneo Island. Now moving on to the Islamic banking. Well, Islamic banking is a type of banking that complies with Islamic law. It prohibits the charging of interest, which is seen as usury. Islamic banking is based on the principle of risk sharing and social responsibilities. A key principle of Islamic banking is that money should be invested in ways which will not lead to its devaluation over time. This can be achieved by investing in businesses or projects which are thought to produce goods or services that are necessary and valuable to the society, such as manufacturing, agriculture, or healthcare. The Islamic banking and finance industry is a growing industry in Malaysia. It provides a wide range of services such as asset management, financing, and investment. The industry is also on the rise with more than 100 billion ringgit in assets under management and more than 1 trillion ringgit worth of transactions in 2017. For Malaysian Muslims, this is a great way to invest their money without worrying about interest rates or other financial issues. The Islamic economic theory. Well, the Islamic economic theory is a set of Islamic teachings that creates and analyzes the economic system of Islam. It has been a subject of debate since the early days of Islam. The classical theory was based on the idea that the money should be neutral as it does not create any value in itself. The value of money comes from its ability to purchase goods and services. It is also necessary for the supply and demand to be in equilibrium for prices to remain stable. In contrast, modern Islamic economists believe that money does have an intrinsic value which is created by the process of lending or borrowing, that is interest. They argue that this idea is supported by verses from Quran such as whoever takes usuri shall be repaid with its kind. This theory considered to be one of the most successful models for alleviating poverty. It has been able to guarantee stability and balance in the economy, as well as a sustained growth rate. The Islamic economic theory also promotes social justice and equality, which are essential to any society.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Jahan Tasim. Let's get into how Islam influenced the Malaysian economy. Muslim countries are often thought of as culturally backward, misogynistic, and poor in economic performance. The teaching of Islam, however, prescribe democratic governance and free market economics. So, along with the other factors, we can specifically note down 4 sectors in Malaysian economy that are influenced by Islam. Number 1, Islamic banking or profit loss sharing. Number 2, takaful system. Number 3, zakat collections. Number 4, women empowerment. Like most Muslim countries, Malaysia has implemented some economic Islamizations policies. The most prominent is the Islamic banking or profit loss sharing banking. The Pilgrim Savings Corporation was set up in 1962 and became operational in 1963, and the purpose was to help Muslims save enough money without involving interest. The first Islamic bank in Malaysia is Bank Islam, that is described as the first step in government's effort to instill Islamic values into country's economic and financial system as a replacement for the current Western-based economic system. As for Takaful system, Syarikat Takaful Malaysia, incorporated in 1984, was then established with an authorized capital of 500 million ringgit and a paid-off capital of 55 million ringgit. It has been converted into a public listed company on the Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange since 1996. The company objectives are to provide takaful service at the highest standard of efficiency and professionalism to all Muslims and the population of Malaysia. Besides banking, economic Islamizations covers zakat collections. PPJ's responsibility is to collect zakat for the council, and the redistribution is done by other agencies of the councils. PPJ inform the public about the zakat and the responsibility of the payers to help the payers, both individuals and companies, calculate their zakat so that zakat collections can be increased. Another aspect of economic Islamization in Malaysia is the empowerment of Muslim women. Although this particular issue has promoted prominent debates over the years between the government and the Islamic opposition party, Muslim women in Malaysia receive fair treatment from the government. Malaysian women are highly important contributors to the country's economic growth. Their access to health and education and their participation in the economy have increased rapidly over the years. Malaysia has implemented the national policy on women in order to involve them more in decision making, safeguard their well-being, remove discriminations, and ensure access to and benefits from development. Malaysia also allows active women involvement in organizations. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Muhammad Tuhin. Today I will talk about Islam and the development of Islamic banking in Malaysia. So first we move on to the first point, which is the development of Islamic banking in Malaysia. So we'll go through the overall history of Islamic banking in Malaysia. So the whole thing started from an idea to have a banking system which is riba free, and this one started on 16th century. So this principle can be seen in Malacca's law. In addition, most stages in Malaysia during that pre-independence era will also influenced by Malacca law, including those that directly or indirectly affect aspects of free riba trading. Under Malacca law, muamalah issues are referred to the article of 29(2), such as Article 30 of the Sale and Fraud Prohibition Act, which established a ban on riba in sales or exchange transactions. Historical record of Islam arrival in Malaysia suggests that free riba trade took place before 16th century. Malaysia began in the 7th century with Kuantans, then spread Kedah, Pahang, Terengganu, Malacca, Johor and Perak. It spread to later stages from the same century. These are definitely riba-free trading activities carried out. But this is not enforced by the law, as riba trading is a problem that Islam is strongly trying to avoid. Also, the second point, which is like influenced by those countries who already applied these Islamic banking system in their own policy. So, such as countries like Qatar, the UAE, Egypt, Pakistan, and Iran. Malaysian Muslim also decided to establish Islamic Bank in Malaysia in 1980s. The Bumiputra Economic Council processed a request to the government to allow establish an Islamic banking in Lembagual to rise and invest in feasible investment in halal from Muslims. That one was approved in March 1981. A seminar called "The Concept of Islamic Development," held at the University of Kebasan, Malaysia, enacted a law that would allow establishment of banking and financial institutions operating on Islamic principles. It adopted a resolution calling on the government to take immediate action to do. It was a factor that Malaysian Islamic economy demanded that Malaysia establish an Islamic bank. This requirement was welcomed by the government when Islamic Banking Act of 1983 was drafted to allow opening of Islamic banking in Malaysia. This is how Bank Islam Malaysia was successfully founded in 1983. At the beginning of its activities, BIMB was based on the Islamic banking model, Faisal Islamic Bank of Sudan and Faisal Islamic Bank of Egypt. However, establishing an Islamic bank in Malaysia is not easy. It wasn't that easy because it has to compete with well-established traditional banks. However, government initiatives and privileges on Islamic banking products have attract other banks and communities, whatever Muslims or non-Muslims, to join Islamic banking system. Today, the Islamic banking system has become mainstream. Already 16 banks in Malaysia offering Islamic banking facilities, and there are already 4 functional banks based on Islamic banking system. Now I move to the second point, how Islam affects banking. So for that one, as we all know, Islam always talk about riba-free banking system because we don't believe in riba. We believe that taking riba is haram, and also is not justified for the people. So that's how Islam affected the whole banking system after implying a new policy which is called riba-free system. We have been through many procedures like murabaha, mudaraba, and so on. So we try to amplify these things in different sectors. Somehow we got results which some results which is like very beneficial, and some results which one didn't affect that well, but eventually we tried. So also if we look at the history during the time of our Prophet ﷺ, that time also, like we all Islam always recommend to have a trade-free system which is riba-free. That means okay, we cannot take extra money based on money. So that's how Islam affect the overall banking system, affect the overall economy. And that was from my side. Thank you for being with me.
Now finally moving on to the conclusion. Well, the Malaysian economy is heavily influenced by Islamic banking. The Islamic banking industry has been growing steadily, and it is expected that it will continue to grow in the future. Islamic banking is a type of banking that follows Sharia law, which prohibits certain types of transactions such as interest on loans, which can lead to an increase in economic growth for a country. In Malaysia, Islamic banking is a new phenomenon and is growing rapidly. The introduction of Islamic banking in Malaysia has been made possible by the government's decision to separate the country's financial institutions into 2 sections, namely Sharia compliant and non-Sharia compliant. That's all from our group. Thank you.